What's up, guys? Rick here with your betting and one and done preview for this week's Travelers Championship. I went through all the winners. Congratulations on the DFS video earlier in the week. I'll link that here. It'll be in the description below as well. Go back and watch that. We had a ton of winners last week. Like, everybody had a Webb ticket. Everybody had a Webb ticket. It was awesome. A lot of big fantasy wins. Let's try to back it up again. Let's try to find a winner for this week. Also, there's a giveaway. If you go back and watch that DFS video at the beginning, there is a way to enter a draw for access to RickRunGood.com, which is where all the tools you're going to see are. It's very easy to do. It's a YouTube, one on YouTube and one on a podcast review. Go and watch that. Check out a way to get entered. I'll pick a couple of winners. But let's jump into this week. And what you're looking at right now, if you are brand new, is the Tournament Predictor tool on RickRunGood.com. What this tool does is it goes out and grabs the odds to win. And now, first time I think I'm showing this on air, top 5, top 10, and top 20 numbers are available. You gotta love it, okay? So this goes out, grabs the player's odds to win the golf tournament, to finish in the top 5, to finish in the top 10, and of course, to finish in the top 20, and it compares it against their actual probability of them hitting the target score for each one of those. So for example, right now I have 15 strokes gained being the winning score for this week. Historically, 15 is a really good number on the PGA Tour. If it's going to be something lower than that, you can adjust the slider down. If it's going to be something higher than that, you can adjust the slider up. But 15 is a really good number. And I'll have you can do this. You can go to the historic strokes gain tool and see what the winners were the past couple of years. Which that tool is, that's right here. This thing is in the midst of getting a complete revamp, so don't fall in love with this. I'm going to revamp the whole thing, but you can see last year, Reevy gained 16 strokes on his route to victory, although he won by 4 shots. So, I mean, 13 strokes gained would have won it. 2018, Bubba won by 3 shots at 14.7, but again, 12 would have won it there. 2017, 12.2 won it, so 13 would have won it, or 12.5 would have won it. So really, I'll tell you what, let's make an adjustment here. Let's go through the Tournament Predictor and make adjusts here to 12.5. Now, this is going to bring a lot of golfers back into play if you only have to gain 12.5 strokes on the field to win this golf tournament. So then basically what this tool does is it looks at the player's likelihood to get to 12.5 strokes gained to be your winner, and then the subsequent scores to get you to top 5, top 10, and top 20, and it compares it against those odds and determines what the best values are. So the way to read this tool, we'll start with Justin Thomas. His implied odds in Vegas based on, what is he now, 11-1, I believe, to win this golf tournament. Some places you might be able to get him at 12-1. I think William Hill has him at 12. That implies that he's going to win the golf tournament 8.3% of the time. Well, my model here predicts the EV, the expected value, that he is actually going to get to that winning score 3.8% more than his implied odds. Okay, so that's a positive. All right, so it's 3.8. So technically, he's actually going to probably get to that score like 12% of the time. Which is a 3-point. Now, Rory's crazy, right? Rory gets to the winning score like 20% of the time. His EV's through the roof. Let me just sort by EV here on the win side. Rory and Patrick Cantlay have massive expected values in this field because Vegas has them at 7.7% to win for Rory and Patrick Cantlay at basically 3.5. Now, what if we raise this strokes gained up a little bit? Let me see. Yeah, even if the winner goes to, even if the winner goes to what? All right, that drops Rory out. 14.5. Okay, even if the winning score is like 14, Cantlay and Rory are still the two quote-unquote best bets in this field based on the numbers, which is kind of interesting. And you can see what I love about this is there are guys who might be good bets to win. So like Dustin Johnson and Brooks Koepka, they have a higher expected value to win, but they actually have a negative expected value on their top 5, top 10, and top 20 numbers. So what that actually, like all these numbers I'm throwing out at you means, in theory, they would be good bets to win. They're going to win more often than the odds imply for the tournament, but they are not going to finish top 5, top 10, and top 20 enough based on their implied odds to finish in those positions. Okay, so you'll just wrap your head around that for a second, but it is really interesting to see that you can be, a positive in one category and not the others, and vice versa. So that's the numbers. You can go check this out. It's clear that Rory has value to win. JT has value to win. Let's do like the best EV for top 20 here really quickly. Lanto, because he's played so poorly recently, Vegas has dropped his odds down like crazy. I have him actually 20% to finish in the top 20. Vegas has him at 8%. Shane Lowry, I have getting into the top 20 about 23% of the time. Vegas has him only getting there 16%. So there's some pretty huge top 20 differences. Let's see the top 10 differences. Lowry and Lanto again. Nate Lashley pop up. Sung Kang. Let's see top 5. Cantlay's there. Mark Hubbard's there. See, Hubbard's interesting because he's a perfect example of a guy that like he's going to miss a lot of cuts or whatever, but he's going to pop off at times. So the fact that Hubbard's there is interesting. Now, I will tell you, let's talk now that we've kind of just I showed you the numbers. You can look through those as much as you'd like. Let's talk a little bit anecdotally here. I am laser focused on Justin Thomas and Bryson DeChambeau this week. Absolutely laser focused. I think they are both very, very live to win this golf tournament. I believe that they eat up a lot of the win equity at the top. I personally believe Bryson DeChambeau is going to win this golf tournament. And the model starts to bear this out, but the thing about the model is it's hard to capture the rise and the evolution of Bryson DeChambeau. So like this small little tail, this 2020 tail of his multiple seasons in a row is hard. It's hard for the model to catch up to that so quickly. So in a couple more weeks, it'll definitely catch up more. But here's the thing about Bryson. The strokes gained numbers alone indicate he should be winning golf tournaments. Of the top 5 golfers in strokes gained total this season, they account for 6 wins. 5 guys account for 6 wins. Bryson is number 2 behind Tyrrell Hatton, and Bryson has a much larger sample size than Tyrrell Hatton does. And Bryson's the only guy without a win in that group. JT's got 2 wins. Webb Simpson's got 2 wins. Rory has a win. Hatton has a win. Bryson's the only guy without a win. The numbers would indicate, and we said this about Webb Simpson for a long time. Webb Simpson's 2019, he had the strokes gained metrics where he should have won more golf tournaments. He finished second 4 times. Webb Simpson in 2019 finished second in 18% of the events that he played. That is bonkers. Bryson kind of in a similar situation right now where if he keeps playing like this, he's going to have to win. Like, it's just going to happen because he's going to be gaining so many strokes on the rest of the field. So that's one part of the argument for Bryson. The other part is the last 2 weeks, Colonial and Harbortown should not have been good fits for him. He has this superpower. He has the Kraken. He has the driver that he wants to use. Colonial doesn't really care. Harbortown kind of negates it. TPC River Highlands, it is not required to be long there, but it certainly helps. He's going to be able to take off the training wheels. He's going to be able to fly bombs around TPC River Highlands. So this is a really good combination. Like I have this feeling in my stomach, kind of the same way about Webb last week. Like it just feels like Bryson's going to win this golf tournament. Now you're paying for it. And you guys know this. I don't like to bet the short guys. I hate it. In fact, I hate betting guys at 10, 11, 12 to 1 because they don't win enough of the time. So that is how strongly I feel about Bryson, that we are actually getting to that point where I've fired a bet on him. Additionally, so the way that I do this, I won't bet JT and Bryson. I don't think it would really mess up my betting slip, kind of with the way I do it I might, yeah, it would be very difficult to bet both of those guys. I'd probably not be able to bet anybody else. But further down the list, I think there's some interesting options. You know, Sergio, he shows up pretty terribly on this model here because, again, the 1 week he had last week is not quantified enough in this model. And he was awesome last week. I think he was best in the field in strokes gained tee to green. He's certainly someone of interest to me. Him and Joaquin Niemann are very much in the same boat. They are very good tee to green players who are incredibly volatile. But at least we know Niemann won this year. Don't forget that. Niemann won a golf tournament this year, the first event of the year at the Greenbrier. But I do really feel like so much of the win equity is focused at the top. Oh, and Sungjae. Speaking of parallels to Webb Simpson, I think I did bet Sungjae. I think I've got bets in on Bryson and Sungjae at the moment, and maybe Sergio. I think that's what I have in it as of recording this. The parallels of Sungjae are pretty interesting because he was, what was he last week? 25-1, misses the cut. Now he's 35. It's basically exactly what happened with Webb. Webb goes, 22-1 at Colonial, misses the cut, goes 30 at Harbor Town, comes back and wins. And the way that they did it, both were just like an outlier tournament, right? So Webb has an outlier, really bad approach round on Thursday that he didn't, he recovered from on Friday, but it was too little too late. But he was right back to being Webb on Friday at Colonial. Sungjae, really the big problem was the putter. He lost 4.4 strokes putting at Harbor Town, which is a place that, oh, by the way, he stinks at putting at. His two worst performances ever on the greens have both come at Harbor Town. Maybe he just doesn't like those greens or cannot figure them out. And now you get like 10 extra points on Sungjae, who's already won this season. Like, yeah, man, like that seems like a pretty good value to me. Speaking of value, and oh, by the way, I never get to do this kind of on video because it happens during the event. But real quick, let's talk about like in-game wagering. What I'm showing you right now is the live leaderboard. This is on RickRunGood.com. This is a free tool. Like, first of all, this was the first, and it still might be the only tool that has DraftKings scoring, tournament position, and strokes gained on the same table that updates every 15 minutes throughout the tournament. If it's not the only one anymore, it's definitely the only free one, I think. But this is absolutely free. This is where you should be coming to look for all of this. And round by round matchups are the most exploitable aspect of golf wagering at the moment. So what you can do is this. What I would do is after every round, I would come in here and you can sort one round at a time. So I would look for guys that were really good tee to green who lost strokes putting. So like Sergio Garcia, after round one, was 4 strokes on the plus side tee to green, 4 on the negative side of putting. This is a guy that I would then say, okay, I want to take him in a head-to-head matchup with basically anybody tomorrow. Because as we talk about so often, the putting is incredibly volatile. It's the tee to green stuff that is sticky from round to round. The putting, it comes, it goes. The margins of error on putting, you miss a putt by a fraction of an inch or they're so small. It turns around so quickly. So I would bet I would take Sergio and I would love to get him in a matchup with guys that are doing the opposite. Guys that are putting unbelievably and losing strokes tee to green. Patton Kizzire, perfect example. Patton Kizzire after round one was plus 3.6 putting, minus 3.5 tee to green. That's unsustainable. It's going to be terrible. Now you might not be able to get a Sergio versus Patton Kizzire head to head, obviously, but those are the types of things you're looking for when you go to your book of choice and you're looking for, round 2, round 3, round 4 matchups. And you can do this for every single round, which is really nice. So that's the most exploitable. Now for tournament long, matchups. This is the updated tournament, the tournament matchup tool. This is the simulator. So again, brand new update to this, making progress on the betting tools, where you can plug in any two golfers and it will run the winning probability over a 4-round tournament. This is work that I've evolved from the work that was previously done by Data Golf and Joe Pita, based on win probability and what the true money line should be. And then, of course, I have, just for graphics purposes, what the running strokes gains for each golfer, and then what they've done recently. So let's go find a matchup here. This is Will Hill. Here's their matchups, hot off the presses. Let's do Webb versus Koepka, because Webb is a dog. So he's plus 100, Brooks Koepka minus 125. So Koepka's the favorite here. Let's plug this in to our betting matchups tool. So we're going to say, give me Webb versus Brooks Koepka. Oh, interesting. Okay, this is a lot closer than I thought because of how prolific Webb is in strokes gained total. This is almost dead even. I have Brooks at 50.1, Webb at 49.9. Wow. So I guess I would probably stay away from this then. That would probably be a no bet. Let's go find another one. We're looking for value here. We're looking for, here we go, JT versus Bryson. Both minus 110. Let's see what the simulator says. So we'll go Justin Thomas. And I've got everybody in here. You saw Justin Leonard's in there. Some of them might be really small sample sizes, but I've got them against Bryson. Okay, now this is interesting. I've got Justin Thomas winning this head-to-head 58% of the time. As much as I love Bryson, the simulator, the strokes gain numbers, especially because, again, not really catching up to his stuff recently, this has Justin Thomas as a pretty significant favorite. So maybe Justin Thomas is the head-to-head matchup bet here. Now, here's something else. I don't want to go off on a tangent, but this is a really good thing to think about. And I credit Ben Raza at JazzRaz DFS. Like, he said this one time to me, and it kind of like went a light bulb off in my head, where when you're talking about two guys in terms of ownership, one guy might be 20% owned, one guy might be 5% owned, or even, 20 and 12, something closer. Like, what is the likelihood that the guy who has twice the ownership is twice as likely to win the golf tournament, or twice as likely to be the higher scoring player or better bet? And if you use something like a head-to-head matchup simulator, you can say, oh, well, Justin Thomas, he's 58% to win this, but he's going to carry twice the ownership. I'll just take Bryson at half the ownership and still 41% of the time to beat JT. Like, the idea of equating ownership back to a head-to-head matchup is an idea that I really, really love. We'll elaborate that in another video. I don't want to get too far offline here. Tony Finau, Matthew Fitzpatrick. Sometimes when you get down outside like the biggest names in the world, this is where a lot of the good numbers come in here. I cannot type Tony. I just mistyped Tony like 900 times. I have Tony Finau 57% minus 133 over Matthew Fitzpatrick. And they're both minus 110. So maybe that's a bet. I would probably bet Tony Finau in this situation. So that's what I do. I kind of plug through each one of these and see if there's any that really, really stand out to me. So that's the way that I use the head-to-head matchup tool. And then finally, we'll wrap here with the one and done. So here's the one and done tool. Last week, Webb, baby, goes and gets us the victory there. And also, I think he was owned. Let's see how many people had him last week. This is referencing the Gups Corner one and done, which is the big one and done. So he goes out 241 picks on Webb Simpson last week at Harbortown. Pretty good. I think he was the highest owned golfer. So we got that. For this week, Let's go and look at the full field because this is Travelers Championship. It's another relatively small purse, 7.4 million. Obviously, guys like Rory McIlroy are going to be, the highest in expected value. So this is what they would return. If you played this tournament 1,000 times or 1,000,000 times, this is the average of what they would return based on the simulator, right? So Rory would return you $258,000 per start over infinity number of starts. So the ones that jump out to me, Justin Rose is getting a big uptick. So Justin Rose, the way he's playing recently, compared with some of the bigger events he's won in his career and having the winning upside, I've seen his expected value rise pretty significantly over the last couple of weeks. He is the 5th best expected value for this week at Travelers, and someone that a lot of you might have not used yet. So I think that's interesting. It's very likely. So if you look at last year, Paul Casey was now, and you have to remember, completely different fields last week, right? Like this is a major level field this year. It was not last year. Paul Casey was the highest owned golfer, 389 picks. Bubba Watson, 287. Bryson, 216. Patrick Cantlay, 149. That was your top 4. I can't really get behind the Bubba thing. Like I understand it. I don't really think if you haven't used them yet, you probably don't need to use them, especially depending on when you're one and done. If your one and done is extended for 25 more events, maybe you should be playing Bubba. If your one and done is, has 12 events left or whatever, you should be burning all of your studs right now. You should be burning all of the best names. You should not be saving anyone. So the shutdown really kind of throws a wrench into, depending on what one and done kind of league you're in and how it's going to work, your strategy moving forward. But for this week, obviously I love Bryson. I'm almost certain I've already used him in all of my one and done situations. So guys that I might not have used, certainly Justin Rose, I think is a good option. If you were saving like Brooks Koepka, I understand is a guy you probably want to save for a major, which kind of makes me want to play him this week because he's trending. He's playing well. If he goes and gets you 1.2 million with a win, he paid for himself. You didn't need to save him for a major, and everyone is saving him for a major. So someone did ask me, I think they tweeted me like, when do I start? Like, who am I saving for the end of the year and how am I deploying them? I would just say what you need to do is be a little bit different. Before the season, I would have been like, okay, everybody's going to play, like Rory at the Open Championship, and everybody's going to play, I don't know, Brooks at the US Open or the PGA and Tiger at the Masters or whatever. So that just be different, play Rory at a WGC, play like Brooks at the Open Champ. You know what I mean? Like I'm just kind of spitballing here, but just be a little bit different. You don't have to play Emiliano Grillo at a major, for example. So that's kind of where I'm at. Let's see what the winner did last year. So I'll go to the winner's path from last year. Travelers, the eventual winner of the one and done had Justin Thomas. Is that who I see there? No, Patrick Reed, who had 43,000. Yeah, everybody was on Paul Casey. Paul Casey got 262. Oh, wow, a couple people did have Ches. Pretty interesting. So you can click through these and see what the winner had on the path here. But obviously the shutdown throws a big monkey wrench into all of this. All right, that's it. Betting and one and done preview. Tweet me. Let me know who you're betting this week and why it's Bryson. At RickRunGood. I'll catch you next time. Good luck.